Hey everyone! A few months ago, back in March, I released a video here on the channel detailing the small portable video production rack that I put together. And since that time, I've actually made a few changes to it, and I wanted to go over some of those here on the channel, let you guys see what I've done. Hey everyone, my name is Doug. I run a video production company in Orem, Utah called DJP, and we do events of all types, live events. And most of the time we work out of this video production trailer where I'm shooting this video, but there are occasionally times when the trailer just doesn't make sense or the trailer is overkill, and so I've got this small portable rig that I use for some productions. The majority of the productions that we do are still done out of the trailer, but every once in a while one comes up where the small portable one actually makes a lot more sense. I think this year I've done maybe 8 shows with the smaller one, and probably double that number with a trailer. As time goes by, I'm finding that some of the original design that I put together is not necessarily ideal, and so I've made a few changes. So the front of the rack here is actually exactly the same as it was before, no changes. With one exception, before when I did the video, I had the Video Pro, the Teradek Video Pro, and here right now I've got the regular Video. I move both of those back and forth depending on what sort of event I'm doing and what the particular needs are. Everything else on the front is actually the same. So most of the changes are around back. First thing you notice around back is that I've actually replaced the network switch that was in here. The old one had 8 ports plus 2 fiber. I found that just wasn't enough, and so I've swapped it out with this TP-Link TLSG1016PE. This is a 16-port switch, and it also has power over Ethernet on the first 8 ports. That's really useful because I have video cameras that actually can be power over Ethernet. I've got some audio equipment that's powered over Ethernet, and then my internet port here, I'm going to show you in a minute. I have a way of actually powering my LTE modem over power over Ethernet as well. So most of the connections that are actually internal to this rack are plugged in here on the right. And that way it leaves me free to use the power over Ethernet for other equipment. Now since this is a managed switch, I have multiple VLANs here. My private network, one for audio, one for my internet connection which goes into my router, and then again more private, the audio, and then I have an admin or trunk port here which I can use to plug into the trailer for those times when I do need to have this and the trailer being used at the same time. So I can run a single Ethernet cable, usually over fiber, and that gives me access to all of the various networks within the trailer from this switch with a little bit of reconfiguration. Now, you may also notice that the network router that used to be sitting on top is no longer there. It's actually mounted internally. It's mounted with Velcro to the top of this switch. Wi-Fi doesn't travel through cases and equipment very well, so I actually moved the antennas outside. I just got some extender cables, attached them to the case, and then hooked the original factory antennas for the router up to the outside of the case. When it's time to take down equipment, I just fold the antenna down and we're ready to go. Now, in addition to the new equipment that I've actually put in there, I've actually got some other things that I just kind of store inside the case. The first of which is this USB hub. So this is a 3-port USB hub that also has Ethernet in it as well, and I just keep this inside the case. We know that we don't want to use Wi-Fi for anything critical, and so the laptop that I use to control the switcher actually gets plugged in with this USB to Ethernet adapter, and that also gives me 3 additional USB ports. So I just keep that in the back of the case at all times. The second piece of equipment that I keep inside the case is this power over Ethernet splitter. So this actually it does the opposite of a power over Ethernet injector. So whereas an injector adds power to an Ethernet connection that doesn't already have it, this one actually takes the power that is on an Ethernet connection and extracts it and allows you to use it to power a piece of equipment that doesn't normally support PoE. The most common use for me with this is actually my LTE router. So I use this, plug in the power the LTE router, plug in the Ethernet connection to the router, and then I'm powering that router from my equipment rack without having to run a separate power connection. That's really handy when I need to run that router outside where it's going to get a stronger signal than it would indoors. I also keep some audio cables inside there at all times, and these are almost always connected directly into that audio compressor. Most of the time these would be plugged into an audio mixer. That way the audio mix gets run through the compressor and then sent into the switcher and then recorded or streamed from there. Make sure that the levels are nice and healthy and keeps things right in check. The last thing that I keep in here that I don't actually have here in front of me is an HDMI cable, normally a 6-foot one. And that makes it easy to connect up an external monitor or a television to be able to view that multi-view output from the switcher. So I can actually get a really reasonably large view of the different camera feeds instead of just looking at the small 7-inch monitors on that Smart View Duo. So there you go, some of the changes to my small video production rack. Nothing terribly exciting. This thing is going to continue to evolve over time, considering that the videos where I talk about these sort of things are some of the most popular on the channel. I figure there's going to be a lot of interest here on the channel for how this continues to evolve. Maybe you'll be able to get some ideas for your own setup. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I try to release new videos related to video production about once a week. Please also consider supporting this channel on Patreon. These videos take a tremendous amount of time to create and edit, and anytime I'm working on that, I'm not working for a paying client. Thanks again for watching, and have a fantastic day.